Welcome back to The Great Connect, where we bridge the gap between modern life and holistic living. Whether you're that friend who carries essential oils in your purse like peppermint or tea tree, or you're curious if essential oils are just fancy and expensive air fresheners, this episode's for you. I'm Carrie Allen, your host, and today I'm excited to introduce you to two amazing women who are bridging the gap between science and soul when it comes to essential oils. I'm so excited to have you here. And let me just share a little bit about Meg and Katie to introduce you to the audience. Meg bridges science and spirit as a plant energy practitioner, essential oil specialist, and yoga teacher. Through her aromadelics, which I've told her I just adore that name. It's so perfect. She helps others explore the healing power of essential oils in psychedelic medicine, blending science, intuition, and presence for deep embodied healing. She also leads the co-practice, a free weekly virtual session exploring the energy of plants through breath, body, and spirit. And then joining her is the amazing Katie Hussong, from trauma nurse to teacher to holistic copywriter, coach, and essential oils educator. Katie's work is rooted in curiosity, education, and deep respect for nature. Through her work with The Human Array, our amazing platform, and her holistically minded humans community, she helps people reconnect with themselves, their bodies, and the natural world through simple, grounded practices that support real life wellness. So, welcome, ladies. I mean, if that isn't an intro, I don't know. I am excited to have you here because this is everything in the holistic world, starting to get back to nature and how the power of plants can really support us as humans. So, let's dig in. Is there anything I missed or anything you want to say to kick us off?
No, we're just so grateful to be here and be
Yes.
talking about something that we love and are super passionate about. Thank you, Carrie.
Yay.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yay. I'm so excited for this. Okay, so um, I personally started to dive into essential oils many years ago and saw it like kind of buzzing around the internet. This sounds really interesting. I resonate with this deeply, and OMG, I have no idea how to even start to incorporate this into my life. So let's start at the very basics. Like, what exactly are essential oils? And like, let's break it all the way down, right? And how are they made? Like, where does that come in?
Yes. You want me to get started?
Yeah, Katie, take us
Okay.
away. Get started.
So essential oils are plant-based extracts. So they can come from just about any part of a plant. Think about the leaves, the stems, the roots, the flowers, the fruit, um, usually the peel of a fruit. So all different, kind of pieces of the plant could contribute depending on the oil that we're talking about. Um, and they're typically extracted, or they end up in the bottle that you're going to use through one of two processes, either steam distillation or cold pressed. And with the cold pressed oils, those are typically like citrus oils. And most of the rest of the oils that you'll encounter are steam distilled. So just imagine collecting like a ton, probably literally like a ton of peppermint leaves. And then you put them in this still and you apply a steam, and it extracts out the oils, which are the aromatic kind of components of the plant. Depending on the part of the plant, different parts of the plants have more or less aromatic kind of qualities to them. Um, which is why, like, for example, with let's say an orange, you would use the peel of the orange versus like the rind, the peel versus the like actual juicy fruit. Like that's where the aroma is, which you've experienced yourself, right? If you've like squeezed like a lemon or a lime, and that little like like the like zest of the like juice that goes into the air. It's really like a lot of times there's a little bit of oil, aromatic molecules that are going into the air, and that's what you're smelling. And same thing with like a peppermint leaf. When you rub it between your fingers, it's on the leaf of the peppermint plant, and that's why you're smelling it from there. So it just depends on where those aromatic components are most like concentrated. That's the part of the plant that they'll use to extract the essential oil. And not every plant even has essential oils really available to extract. So, but many of them do. Yeah, and that's how they end up eventually in the bottle. So,
I love that. I never thought about, I guess I always just kind of assumed like leaves and petals, but it's interesting to think about all the other parts of a plant that can contribute to that. That's cool.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and very cool to like get into, which usually isn't the first thing you start to kind of learn about, but to when you start to think about the parts of the plant, what part of the plant are we talking about and kind of the different benefits and qualities it might have. Think
Mm.
about the roots of a plant, for example, like energetically, this like very grounding kind
Yeah.
of, right, rooting into the earth experience. And a lot of those oils that come from the root of a plant, the
Yeah.
essential oils are very grounding, right? So it's interesting to kind of like start to explore those qualities too.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I think nature's the coolest. Okay. Um, but let's spill a little tea here. There's a lot of companies out there selling essential oils. What's the difference between the one that I'm grabbing on the shelf of said grocery store and more refined products that are a little bit more expensive? Like there's a spectrum, it feels like, out there. And how do we start to discern what is really actually an essential oil versus a fragrance?
Yeah, absolutely. Not all oils are created equal. You can see them everywhere, right? From the grocery store to the TJ Maxx to any kind of places. Um, and just like our food, right? We have to be mindful of what we're consuming and discerning in that process. And so we choose to partner with doTERRA for that really pure quality essential oil. So it's the purest essential oils in the world because of the sourcing, which is really important when you're using them in a therapeutic context. Um, and so there's different layers of transparency and testing that you want to ensure that you're actually getting the pure essential oil to consume aromatically, topically, and specifically with doTERRA specific oils you can ingest internally and use them specifically as medicine, herbs and oils, right? The traditional, the OG medicine, right? And making sure that you're not applying anything topically or even consuming fragrance. We know how bad and toxic that can be for our respiratory system, our lungs, allergies, creating more harm in our environment than good. And when you're working with pure essential oil, your body will know exactly in that moment that it meets and connects that it is safe to combine in that experience when you're, breathing it in. It's going right through your olfactory nerves, getting right into that limbic center of the brain, balancing the left and right hemispheres, really being able to shift your emotional state right away. When you're applying the essential oils topically, right, you're able to notice and even smell difference. I would always encourage you to, if sometimes we just invest in oils because we're like, okay, we've heard that they're good for us. I'm just going to grab some from TJ Maxx or at the grocery store, and see and do a smell test. Like actually get them out once you do invest maybe in a higher quality brand like doTERRA and see if you can smell the difference. And usually you can. Almost get a grab of something synthetic, or maybe you're paying for cinnamon, but you're actually getting clove. There's less transparency, and then also energetically, what we're able to be a part of when we're purchasing and consciously consuming doTERRA essential oils is a greater impact. It's so much bigger than us when we're able to support local farmers and small scale businesses in regions that we would maybe never as Americans be able to touch or kind of impact in that intentional way. So knowing the good that they're doing in our co-impact sourcing and our Healing Hands Foundation, really impacting these farmers and distillers and growers for the good. And as we
Yeah.
in our community, we work with them energetically. So knowing that we get to, when we're smelling spearmint and we're traveling to India, when we're smelling frankincense, we're energetically and heart opening to our farmers in Somaliland, and so it's just a different kind of impact when you're able to understand where the oils come from, and have reverence for the land that they come from and the people that pass through it.
Yeah, I think what you hit on there for me feels so true to remember that what you're purchasing, like thinking about who's making it, where it's coming from, all of those components, even if you don't have the full breadth and knowledge of a new practice or a new product or a new thing, do a little bit of research on the company itself, right? And like look at the website and what do they say? What are they speaking into? And even if you don't have it perfectly, just starting there and really connecting yourself to like, I'm purchasing this product. Like, what am I aligning myself with?
Hmm.
Even if you don't have the science and all the things behind the scenes, like, I feel like that can be a really huge step to just consciously making a decision rather than grabbing the thing that's just immediately in front of you. Would you agree that that's
100%.
how brands are
Yes.
starting to participate in this world?
I,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think there's more and more of that,
Yeah.
which, just because it's become more popular, it's become more important for brands to be able to educate the consumer about these aspects
Yeah.
of like the decision-making process, like what goes into it, and so that people have that information. I do think the majority of essential oil producers or let's say companies, brands, like are not doing that level of maybe education or testing, or sourcing that way. And so you really do want to try to, as a conscious consumer, if that's important to you, like take the time to educate yourself and learn, and be curious and get, like a wide array of like perspectives and information, as you're looking into it. I think when it comes down to it, I love, how Meg kind of referenced that like smell sniff test, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, that is like your nose knows,
Your nose
the
knows.
difference. So like,
Yeah.
um, the first essential oil I purchased was like a from Whole Foods, and I remember just thinking like, oh, that it's got to be the best,
Yeah.
like this is the highest quality here, but like I just, and of course it was probably so much better than like the vast majority of what's out there, but um I just had no idea because I just hadn't started learning about,
Hmm.
everything that kind of goes into this. And so once I started digging into that and learning, then, it became so much clearer like why this matters. And truly, like when you do have a high quality, well sourced oil, like you're going to smell the difference for
Hmm.
sure. But there is also, just for those learners out there, like myself too, like there's so much to learn and explore and dig into, and doTERRA is the most tested. Um,
Yeah.
and like for that reason, very trusted brand. And so, you want to look for someone like that, like a company doing it that way, right?
Yeah.
Considering the people, considering the land, the purity. And they even have, you can go onto their website and you should be able to ask a company for
Hmm.
their test results, but you should also, and you shouldn't have to do this, but unfortunately, this is the world we live in, right? Like it helps to understand at least a little bit like how much testing needs to be happening. Like,
Right. Right.
there's just so much nuance to it. So they're doing it in a way that really aligns for us,
Mhm.
and feels really in integrity. And so yeah, hopefully we'll see more and more of that from,
Yeah.
as they inspire other companies to do it that way. I would love to
Hmm.
see more of that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely right. It's up to us as consumers to show that we value that, and then that continues to kind of shift the trends that way. But I love calling out those that are taking it above and beyond because it feels like a safe space as a beginner that okay, I can trust this I may not know everything yet, but this is a safe place
Hmm.
to start because you know, you can get into this paralysis of like, okay, now I got to do all this research. And then I have not
Right.
even done the essential oils that I wanted to
Hmm.
start because I am stuck in the internet and the black hole of learning rather than moving forward. So it's great that companies are taking the initiative like doTERRA to be able to create that safe space to start and learn.
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Katie? There's something
I,
extra.
I could always say so much.
I know. I
Like, I
have.
mean, I was just gonna say, like, and that's another reason we really like the way we do this now. Like, there's, so many, like, there's pros and cons. It could be controversial, but like what we love about the way we use and share oils is that kind of like opportunity to be in community, to connect with people, to like focus on education, to guide, to take someone's hand sort of in a sense and like guide them when they are potentially feeling like they're in overwhelm or paralysis about something and like just start small, start simple, but like from someone or some people, a community that's been doing it for a long time and, you know, can help you feel like at ease about it, and not like worried, like I'm gonna hurt myself or I'm gonna do it wrong, like can help you with those things. So I just wanted to kind of add, that's a really nice component of it as well. So you don't feel like you're just on your own, um,
Mhm.
trying to figure out and hoping you're doing it right. Um,
Yeah.
and I wanted to also add about like grades. That's a question that comes up a lot. People will say like, there's no such thing as a grade of essential oil, right? Like, and so this is an interesting thing to explore. And doTERRA, just as an example, like I think now like the official term is certified pure tested grade, right? But this is
Mhm.
this is a term that is created by the company. So in doTERRA's case, like it's basically their quality control standard. So it's
Mhm.
not, they're not saying like, oh, like this is the official grade that like the world recognizes that this grade is called this. It's like, no, this is what how we like ensure, right, that we are sourcing and testing and verifying,
Mhm.
repeatedly, consistently, like when we're doing it that way, this is what we call it, So
Mm. Okay.
that's an interesting, you'll hear people kind of argue about that on the interwebs. So I just wanted to bring that up too, but it's not really about like the grade as much as like just the quality of the sourcing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
The testing.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, right? The sourcing is a global network. And so I always use the example of like, you can grow a lemon tree in Maryland, right? But when you have a lemon tree from Sicily, right, where it's indigenously when it's that's where it's naturally meant to grow, right? I went to a lavender farm in Richmond. It was beautiful, but it dies every winter, right? Instead of like grabbing and sourcing from Bulgaria, from France, where that's where it's indigenously meant to be grown, and thrives the most environmentally. And so that also plays a part into getting the highest quality and therapeutic quality of the essential oils. Those chemical constituents are going to be of a higher grade from just the environment and land that they are naturally inhabiting.
Ah.
Yeah, and Meg's talking about like natural chemical constituents, right? Like
Hmm.
the chemistry that's within that plant,
Hmm.
naturally. So
Yeah.
yeah, it all really matters. And it
It
all makes a
does.
difference. Like when people talk about like wine, or I have a really good friend who works in coffee, and we're able to like speak the same language
Hmm.
because we're
Yes.
talking about like soil and climate and growing conditions and all
Yes.
that play a role. And the same is true for essential oils.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that comparison, right? Because
Hmm.
yes, there's the winery down the street that can make wine and grow some grapes in Massachusetts, and that's great and good for them. And but also you can feel the difference between that and a Tuscan or a French wine,
Hmm.
and the soil and like the earth that's really built to create that. And
Hmm.
as you're saying that, like it feels so different to think of products that are working with the environment and the earth in general versus yeah, we can make anything happen, right? Like we're creators, we can do that. And at the same time, how different the sensation is when the earth is naturally abundant in this resource because it is intended to grow there perfectly versus us
Perfectly.
saying, yeah, we can grow lavender anywhere and we
Hmm.
can. I can have it in my, windowsill if I really
Hmm.
want to, right?
Right.
But it's very different. I love that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes. I'd love to, because we talked about that and because of, Maggie talked about the ability to shift your emotional state immediately. And I know you're both incredibly passionate about essential oils. Let's speak into, is it a cure-all? And how do we stay in this space of utilizing the tool in the right place? But, I think a lot of things in the interwebs are like, yes, this solves everything. And it's an amazing resource. But talk to me about that. Like, how does it get incorporated? How, can we lean into the skeptics in the room a little bit to
Mm.
say, like, how do we find balance in this?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, essential oils don't cure anything. They actually bring your body back into homeostasis, back into balance. And they're working with the systems of the body to support the symptoms that you may be having or that are presenting. Um, and so, you know, I think it's also part of the process of exploring them consciously for yourself. You can listen to other people, you can look on the interwebs and, find all the different ways, but until you have an embodied experience, when you have a aha moment is going to be your greatest teacher. When you're reaching for a peppermint instead of an Advil for some head tension, right? Or some ginger for your upset stomach, to support that digestive system, right? And then sometimes we can correlate it to things that we already know from our maybe education with food, right? We know that ginger and fennel and peppermint are supportive for your digestive system, digestive ailments. And so why not, apply a digestive blend or those specific oils with a little bit of fractionated coconut oil to your belly or ingest it and support it, take it internally like a tea, and see what happens for yourself. Um, but really just honoring that process because they are very potent, right? One drop of peppermint is like equivalent to 28 cups of peppermint tea. And so that's where, having the education that you get, that educator with KDRI and doTERRA in general, you want to be able to know how to consume them, ethically and with from an educated standpoint so that you aren't utilizing them in a different way, right? Than what they're meant for. So as much as we want to say, yeah, this will heal this, it's really just here to support the systems of the body, and to bring this homeostasis into alignment for you.
Yeah, beautiful. Katie, any other
I've
thoughts?
just like perfectly said, and I guess I would just add like I think of it as a tool in my
Yeah,
toolbox.
absolutely.
That and I just personally tend to prefer, as I think probably a lot of everyone in this conversation and a lot of people listening probably maybe if you're leaning in this direction, holistic direction, like, where can I go? What's like a natural option for me?
Hmm.
Could I at least start there? Maybe I'm gonna have to go to something else after, but like, what if I just started there? So I love that option of being able to turn to like an essential oil, I think about, or an herbal, like a tea, or a
Hmm.
tincture, like there are so many really beautiful natural tools to have in your toolbox, your holistic health toolbox. And I think of oils as one of them. And for me personally, and I know for Meg, like it's been a really, just such a staple and really such an essential, for lack of
Hmm.
a better word, was a perfect word, right? For so many years, since we really started learning about them and incorporating them into our lives. So I love that advice of, like having your own experience and as over time you really do hone like that intuition and that kind of knowing, right, of like what you need in that moment. But it takes time, it takes practice, it's just like
Hmm.
anything. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, just having that, kind of gentle, simple,
Yeah.
comfortable way of starting with a little bit of guidance around safe usage
Hmm.
and kind of have your journey.
Yeah. I love that. And let's dig into how to start because it is amazing to think of this treasure trove of opportunity for ourselves. And yet, where do I actually begin? So let's start with like, if I'm brand new to this and like, what are the three? Like, if I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I want to start and I want to start with something, what are the top three? Or we could go a different direction if there's something
It's so
else.
hard. It's so
I
hard.
I
know.
know it's so hard, but like,
Um,
I want to hear yours, Meg.
well, I mean, I think always too when we're meeting with people, we have like a little survey where it's like you're gonna fill out your top three reasons for interest in the essential oils, and so that we can help individualize what your budget is, what specific oils, what products that would be the best for you to support what your health and wellness needs are, or desires or intentions. So, um, in
But
terms of like
taking all that aside,
yeah,
all that
okay. Are you
aside,
asking
I'm
like
like,
my top three? Shoot.
like, but you're right. It is so personalized. It
It
is, and we
is.
really
It's such a
do.
trick question.
But
I
like, okay,
know, I know.
if you're picking for yourself
Okay.
though,
Let's
Okay.
say the average human has a couple of ailments that happen for them all the time, which is, let's say it's headache,
Hmm.
stress,
Hmm.
and digestion, right?
mhm,
Like if those are like in this modern world, the core issues that we have, which there's
Yeah.
many more than that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
what would you say? What would you encourage them to start with?
Okay, for those three for sure. Peppermint, and we have an incredible digestive blend that is just top notch. Like if you're not a believer and you have an upset stomach or you're bloated, a couple drops of Digest-N and it'll make you a believer. I do believe that. And then just like all of them are going to be supportive for stress, in my opinion. So it really leaning into what you kind of feel more intuitively drawn to. I love grounding oils, so frankincense is going to be my go-to. That's my best friend. Um, but if you're feeling maybe more lower and that stress support might be more of like a citrus, something wild orange, lemon, or maybe you're more attuned to like the florals and lavender would be great. We know that that's a tried and true as well. But to each their own on that. So it is hard. But from that question, I would say peppermint, digestion, and frankincense for me. What about you, Katie?
I agree with everything you said.
I
Um,
know I
yeah,
threw wild
I'm
orange
saying,
in there for you because I was like,
I
I
know.
really.
I heard you say citrus. Yeah, wild orange. Yeah, like for me, for the stress question, I would lean typically towards. I mean, I feel like if it's more like I'm having anxious feelings, it's like
Mhm.
kind of something heavier type of stress. Um, I tend to go for like a frankincense. Love frankincense, and
Mhm.
I have an interesting story with frankincense where I didn't like it at all when I first smelled it, and this is also an interesting thing to think about when you're first getting started. Like you may smell an oil and be like, "Ugh, ugh," like no. And
Mhm.
like, whether I'm not sure what the like true scientific for sure, explanation of this, but a lot of people in the essential oils world tend to feel like if you have that kind of reaction to an oil, it potentially is an oil that you might need.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it was just interesting how I didn't like it at all when I first smelled it. And then like many months later, after really, working with other oils and continuing to learn about oils, including frankincense, having a really intense like moment of just like overwhelm and like anxiousness. Like I remember like it was so intense, like I was driving and I was like, I need to like just pull over and take a breather here. I can't even remember what it was that was going on, but I had a few oils in my bag as one does once you start using essential oils. And I just like intuitively went like like I immediately thought of frankincense and grabbed frankincense. Like I just didn't even think of anything else because I had just heard like this is the one for this kind of moment. And I just put a drop in my hands and I just, I'm sitting in like a Wegmans parking lot, like just with a drop of frankincense in my hands, rubbed it between my palms, cupped my hands in front of my face and just closed my eyes and took a few slow, deep breaths. And in that moment, like there was just like zero offense like to that aroma. Like it was like perfect, exactly what I needed, and I have loved it ever since. And so it is like for me the one with like those kind of heavier emotion type feelings that I'll lean towards. But if it's not quite as heavy, it's sort of like that day-to-day stress, like wild orange is my go-to.
Mhm.
And everyone in our oil circle knows I'm like, just put some wild orange on it. Just put peppermint on it. Like wild orange makes everything better. It's like a bottle of sunshine, truly.
Mhm.
It's so lovely. And frankincense and wild orange together,
Very, very
delightful.
nice. Very
Um,
nice.
so yeah, I would say those are my like stress ones. And then peppermint is like 100% that should be in your collection right away.
Mhm.
There's just so many different uses for it. And of course, I am a huge fan of digestion for digestive issues.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really very much on the same page. However, a lot of people do love lavender.
Mhm.
Like that, like Meg said, like it's what do you lean towards? Like, are you more a floral, like
Mhm.
lavender, you know? And
Mhm.
lavender's one that really over years grew on me. It took
Mhm.
time. I do really love it now, but I especially love it like blended with other oils. I don't love it as much just on its own, but
Ah,
it is also very calming, very soothing. So yeah, I mean, I've worked with people. When I used to work in the ER, I worked with like a lot of people who worked night shift, and there were people who had like years of insomnia kinds of issues because their schedules were so off, right? Working the night shift, who were, taking medications to try and help them. And something as what people think is so simple as lavender used consistently in a certain way and kind of helping her find like the right application for her and amount for her, like she was able to completely shift into this
yeah.
Mhm.
natural option. And so it just depends on the person. And sometimes there's trial and error
Mhm.
experimentation. There's always really, right? Almost always. So
Yeah.
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 Generally I would say we have the exact same
Okay,
recommendation.
that's great, right? Like it's a place to
Mhm.
start. Like, okay, if I'm gonna dip my toe in, like,
Mhm.
But then I'm
because
like,
there's
but if this is happening,
Yeah, there's interesting.
like I would love a tea tree. I love,
Mhm.
I love our
Mhm.
like immune supportive blend. So, and these are ones that like I feel like when I'm working with and I'm sure it's probably similar for you, Meg, but like if I'm helping someone kind of decide like how to get started, I want to hear just like you said, like what's going on for you, what kind of things do you want to be able to address, like first and foremost, and then kind of talk about like other things that you might want to consider like you're gonna wish you had in your toolbox.
Mhm.
Like if you call
Mhm.
me and you're like, hey, like, this is happening, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll grab this thing, and they don't have it. Like, so we like within doTERRA, you can totally just get a few oils or get one oil, like whatever you want. And I'm sure this is the case with a lot of different options out there, but like we also have little collections, and so like we do a top 10 collection,
okay.
top
Mhm.
10. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the generalized top 10, right? And like it's crazy. Like, I don't know what this is, probably I'm probably like almost 12 years, 11, 12 years of using them, like very in a very intentional, lots of education, kind of way. Like that top 10 is still very much I see why
Mhm.
it's the top 10. I get
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And like, I'll take that. I'll just take that with me, like traveling,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
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 Curated to really address anything that comes up naturally with those top 10 oils.
yeah,
That's
like it was
awesome.
originally called the Dr. Mom kit, like many, many, many years ago.
Ah,
Like,
Mhm.
oh, that's so funny.
it's it's like your first aid kit, sort of like
Technically,
Yeah.
yeah.
essential
Plant
oils.
No,
medicine
that's
cabinet, first aid
Yeah,
kit. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, that's so helpful because that is the trap that I found myself in. Not a trap, but in a bind, right? Of
Mhm.
like, okay, I've now said yes to this. I'm going down the path, and then all of a sudden something arrives, and I don't have the one thing that I need for it specifically, right? And
Mhm.
all these are amazing, but I don't want to grab the one at CVS because
Right.
I
Right.
know it's not actually going to help me, right? And so then it's like time bound. Um,
Totally.
so it's so nice to have that kind of curated for you. It's not going to be the solve all for everything, but there is like kind of this moment where you're
Mhm.
shifting between, okay, now this is what I reach for. How do I
Yeah.
build a cabinet that doesn't just have things sitting there, but I'm also prepared at the same
Mhm.
time?
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I think
Absolutely.
sorry, Meg.
No, go ahead.
I was just to say another piece that's been so helpful. I mean, we have like resources that we love. All the ones I grabbed just in case I needed to do show and tell are like energy, spiritual, like the energetic, spiritual, emotional aspects of
Yeah.
bills. But because you really don't get one without the other. I know this is not like 101 conversation necessarily, but like, but if that's where you lean, like it is 101 conversation, you know? So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but like, a great like reference book when you're first getting started is awesome, so you
Yeah.
can like what is like a community of really experienced oilers turn to in terms of
Hmm.
a reference. Like there are great apps for it now, or app versions, of like books like that.
Mhm.
Um, but also the community itself, like it was so, and continues to this day to be so incredibly like helpful.
Yeah.
When you have a community of people who've been using oils for a long time
Hmm.
and also helping other people do that, like there's also so much experience in the room, so to speak, and so
Hmm.
like, you may say like, hey, this is what I have going on, or you could just search like,
Yeah.
not to be grossly graphic, but recently I was searching like thick mucus, like what do I do about that? What are your favorite options for that? And like so like you'll get different recommendations, a lot of them overlapping, but again, see,
Mhm.
that's where there's like nuance and different things that work slightly better for different people, the bio individuality, component of everything. But it's so helpful. And even now, what, like 11, 12 years into doing this, like I still use the community in that
Hmm.
way, where I go in and I'm like, what's working for people in this particular situation, or
Mhm.
like, oh, like my nephews have like this thing that's going around right now, like, and I can go into the community and be like put the name of that thing in there and be like, what is helping you with your kids, with this, or has helped you. And that's very helpful, like, especially as a new person, but as a very experienced person too, like
Sure.
just to be able to hear from other people what's really working in real life.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So, so good to start with, like, you're always coming up against new things, right? Even
Hmm.
if we have been experiencing something. And so it's a constant learning. And I love the philosophy of just we're always learning rather than assuming that you're going to get to a certain point with any holistic tool that all of a sudden you're going to have it all figured out. I'm
Hmm.
speaking to myself because I like to think that that's going to happen for me and judge myself when I haven't gotten there. But the reality is, like, we keep living, we keep growing, and things keep shifting. And having that community, that space where you can lean into other people whose journey has gone a different direction. So they may have come up against something before you have. And that's really powerful. I love that. Okay, so you said the word a couple of times. We're going to talk about how do you use them? Like we help figure out how to use them. Like what how do we use them? Like what are all the options and or like what's safe for me to do on my own versus how should I be collaborating with people to know what's safe? Like I think it starts to get a little nerve-wracking um stepping into the use part of it.
Hmm. Yeah. So first and foremost, I feel like the most popular way to use them is just aromatically. So putting them in a diffuser with some water and creating whatever emotional state that you like for the environment within your home or your office space, right? Energizing, uplifting oils for focus in the office. Maybe it's bedtime routine. You're choosing some soothing, calming, grounding oils to kind of set the tone and create a calming environment in the evening. As well as just really putting one drop in. We always say one drop, one breath, put a drop in your palm, take a deep breath in, and just take a moment of that sacred pause, that kind of introspect and just moment of grounding and connection, just to actually even take inventory of how you are feeling, right? So aromatically is a beautiful one. Aromatherapy is a real thing. When you're utilizing oils to support your emotional well-being, really able to kind of start to even discern what oils for what times, as we mentioned, right? An oil for stress, that means you're usually more in your head, you're running a little bit more anxious, right? So you're in your mind. So ideally, you would want to reach for something really grounding to bring you back into the body, to bring you back into the earth, like a tree oil, like a grass oil, like vetiver or something like that. Or if you're feeling really low, you're feeling a little bit more depressed, say, it's hard to get moving. You're more in your body, a little bit more lethargic, hard to get out of bed, get off the couch. You want to reach for something uplifting in nature, like a citrus, like a mint, to help kind of bring the energy up and out and to get things moving and grooving a little bit. If you're feeling sad, right? Really supportive of the heart. So a floral or oil will match that heart chakra, that emotional center. And you can always kind of apply those oils, which will lead into that topical use, right, to those spaces in the body. So applying, a floral to your heart chakra. Technically, we want to use it diluted with some fractionated coconut oil, carrier oil. It could be olive oil that you have in the kitchen, jojoba oil, rosehip oil. Any carrier oil is going to help extend the drop of that oil and also drive the oil a little deeper into the system of the body. So you're actually getting more use out of that oil. If you have some shoulder pain and you just put a drop on your shoulder, it can evaporate. So you want to actually use that coconut oil to massage it in, to drive it into the system of the body that you're looking to support topically. Um, and then internally, you'll have that kind of, and each oil within doTERRA has like the A, the T, the I. It'll tell you how you can use it. You can always search it or reach out to the person that got you into the doTERRA. But it also has like a supplement backed on the box, on the back of the bottle. And so if it has a supplement backed label, that means you can ingest it. One drop is plenty. Always with oils, less is more, because they are so potent, right? And so you're kind of figuring out what your individualized dose is. I can do 2 drops of peppermint. I'm like a peppermint fiend. I love it. But like some people like want to just put like a little dab on their palm and like lick it off that breath freshener, that little bit of. So it just, less is more, and you'd rather start with less so that you don't overwhelm yourself or have a bad experience and then kind of have a little rub to that peppermint. Internally love it in just water, in baths, in any elixirs, smoothies, all kinds of stuff. I love to explore that. A little vanilla in my own latte, or lavender in my own latte, cinnamon in my cacao, citrus oils in the smoothies, helpful for detox. So really just looking at what kind of taste you like. I don't buy any flavored soda waters. I just get the regular soda water because I don't want that artificial flavor or natural flavor. And I've got my own pure essential oil. So I'm getting the therapeutic benefits of, adding wild orange for detox, lemon for detox in the soda waters that I use. So I'm really kind of specific on that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think too, like if you're looking to support yourself, say for example, your immune system, all 3 ways, diffusing in the evening, that immune supportive blend or oil, applying it topically to that system. If you have congestion, we kind of call Breathe, our respiratory blend, our all natural Vicks Vapor Rub. It doesn't have the petroleum, it's pure essential oils, right? And also a really strategic way to apply topically is on the bottoms of the feet. If you're familiar with your reflexology, and reflexology points, when in doubt, just cover your whole foot, or you can kind of look up on your resources. Okay, I have sinuses. Okay, big toe. I'm going to rub it onto my toes, my throat, like these spaces, or my digestive system, my stomach right here. So I always say, like, when in doubt, just cover your whole feet, and just massage it in. But that'll actually take the molecules of the oil through the bloodstream to that system of the body. And another great place to apply topically is along the spine, that highway between the mind and body, lots of nerve endings. And again, this is why we're only specifically talking about doTERRA, because of applying along the spine. You do not want the ones from TJ Maxx. You're going to do more harm for your body doing that. So we're really, from that integrity and transparency standpoint, if you're going to use them therapeutically, along the spine, bottoms of feet topically, you want to make sure that it's the highest quality that you can find.
Yeah, yeah, no, so important. I love the soda tip.
Yeah, I love
That's a great one, right? That's a great
it.
place to start. Like, okay,
Yes.
like a drop of lemon in my
Hmm.
tea or a drop of lemon in my soda water. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's feels
Hmm.
very easy and accessible, and I don't have to overthink it.
Yeah.
Um, that to me is the stuff that like changes the game for
Yeah.
people. Oh, okay. It's not scary. It's not hard. Oh God. Okay, can I put it on my
Hmm.
skin? Can I not put it on my skin? I don't know. Like all of those things are amazing, but
Yeah.
terrifying. So I love the soda tip. That's
Yeah. And it's a real fear that it's so funny that we it presents with essential oils, but it's like you're already consuming unconsciously
yeah.
these
I
naturally
know.
flavored like I'm like you
I
but you're
know.
worried about like what about this? You know what about I don't know. It's just it is
I know.
interesting. It's
I
very
find it so
interesting.
fascinating too. Like in my own like personal, in my own like world
Yeah.
experience, it's like, why am I terrified to mess this up? I've had this with so many different holistic tools where there's like an ingrained fear somewhere of
Hmm.
like I could do it wrong and really harm myself.
Hmm.
And I don't know what that is or where it comes from. Well, I have ideas, but we won't go into
Yeah.
that on this episode.
Yeah, but it is a process about, building trust and relation.
Yeah.
Like we have the relationships with these oils. Like we have like tried and true like friends and like they are our plant allies as we navigate this world and support ourselves naturally. And so it is building trust within your own intuition, right? Even when you're shifting into natural lifestyle, like there's always that, am I doing this right? Because of the programming, the deep conditioning that we've been through in this modern world. But really, that simple shift, it's a simple return back to your inner nature, your home, and this natural world that's like knocking on all of our doors of just asking us to open.
Yeah. Yeah. Katie, you have
I was
things.
just gonna add, I just so beautifully said, Meg. And I think from everything she shared, like you get a sense of like the wide, like again, array of ways you can utilize essential oils, from
Hmm.
kind of like very, very beginner to like all along that spectrum. Um, and I wanted to just add that like you can do it wrong. Like
Hmm.
quote unquote wrong, let's say. Like, all right, I think kind of like the number one thing is like, am I using a really quality, safe, in that regard kind of oil? Like, cool. That's like your first check. And then
Yes.
second check are like, like what are some really simple kind of safety tips like for using them? Um,
Mhm.
for example, like that diffusing essential oils, like aromatically, this is like the easiest way. You
Yeah.
you're not gonna it's hard to do that wrong. Now, sometimes you pick a very bad oil to diffuse and you will like maybe think you should never use oils again. It's like you're diffusing an oil, like a scent that's like way too strong or it's not ideal for diffusing, right? Like, but generally, like you get a couple recommendations, you're good. Um, and it's so easy and it's so satisfying to come into your space to like wake up in the morning and put a couple drop like put I'm just gonna share like my favorite. Like put like 3 to 4 drops of peppermint, 4 to 5 drops of wild orange, and like 2 drops of lavender. That is like the most beautiful. It's like my favorite like go-to diffusing blend. If I'm traveling, I bring like a little diffuser with me and you then can like imagine being in a hotel room and being able to like diffuse like what feels like so calming to you that you use every day in your own home. Like it's so lovely. I know like lots of parents who also just talk about kind of that routine like of
Hmm.
diffusing every morning or at like bedtime or during homework, whatever it may be, like with their kid. And it's like your kids remember like it's that aromatic like memory,
Hmm.
but you also just feel like the physical and emotional impact of that. So diffusing, don't like it's so easy and simple and it's very, very, very hard to do wrong, but
Hmm.
but like it's so powerful, even just
Yeah.
diffusing. Like if you are like, having that hesitancy or like concern or whatever, like just start with that, and
Yeah.
let that be like kind of your entry point. But like for example, you wouldn't want to like put peppermint on your fingers and then rub your eyes.
Yeah.
This is like everyone's done it. Once you've done it once, you
I
like
feel like it's your initiation though,
it
because
is.
you once you do, you're like a real oiler once you've gotten
Right,
peppermint in your eyes.
right. Or
But
like
you can reduce that by just rubbing some coconut oil and it'll immediately
yes,
pull away. And even that
yes.
mistake, quote unquote, you're
Yeah,
building trust. You're like, okay, I did it, quote unquote, wrong.
right.
And now I've got the coconut oil. I've learned that that's immediately going to pull it away. And then you know better, you
Yeah,
do better.
right. Or like Like a cinnamon, you wouldn't want to put like right on your skin, or like a cassia, you wouldn't want to put right on your skin. These are like really, really hot oils, you know?
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
love Meg's suggestion of like when you're using oils topically, dilute, like
Hmm.
just start with diluting everything. Just one
Yeah.
drop and dilute it, Like,
Yeah.
and this is how, again, you like build that relationship and that trust and like kind of learn how to work with them. But like there are things like that which we have like resources that we share, like
Yeah.
here's your getting started research, like do this, don't do that, um because you're right, like and it should be respected. It's not like, oh, these are
Yeah.
just like, yeah, use any of them, use them however you want. Like it's not like that at all. It's use them
Hmm.
with intention,
Hmm.
educate yourself about them,
Hmm.
learn how they work best for you. Maybe they don't, maybe they're just not your thing, maybe they're not the tool for you, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
Like, or maybe they are sometimes and they're not other times. Like it's all good, but it's a process, and and it's something that definitely we respect,
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
process. So,
Yeah. I just have to laugh because as you were saying the thing about like building the routine and those aromatic memories and um so many male colognes came into my mind that I have, right? Like we all have, but I use that as like an example of like, remember how powerful the scent can
Hmm.
truly be because we all have that. Like you walk past somebody and you're like, ooh, why did I just remember so and so from 50 years ago that like
right.
in
Hmm.
this intense experience? But we can use that supportively too to help our body recall and remember and build those habits and routines. So I just had that
I
memory
love it.
like, huh, yeah, that's a good mechanism to like switch for ourselves of how powerful that actually can be in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creating those positive aromatic pathways. And
Yeah.
like it is a real thing. That's one of my favorite things when I'm in person, like introducing oils to people is like what memories pop up. I like, when I smell oregano, it takes me to my grandfather's kitchen. I remember one guy smelled cedarwood and it took him to the golf course in the rain in February, and these beautiful things. And also like intentionally creating that, especially with your children, your nieces and nephews, your loved ones, right? When you think of the holidays, you think of cinnamon and peppermint and clove, right? And that is something that's natural. That's what we call On Guard has those, that Christmas in a bottle, right? And so if you're continuously in a routine, utilizing lavender in the evening with your children, that memory, that energetic and aromatic imprint is going to stick with them long after you're gone. Right.
Mhm.
And so there's this like quantum hug that we almost explore. Like my mom's favorite diffuser blend is spearmint and wild orange. When I'm homesick or when she's missing me, we live, not in the same state anymore. We diffuse that, we put on our playlist, and it's like we're energetically in that same space, or when
Yeah.
I'm diffusing vetiver, which I know my nephew loves, like in the evening, it's like, oh, like if we're diffusing at the same time, isn't there like kind of this like connection there too that you get to explore and really ingrain in your heart and your memory? It's a beautiful practice.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sold. I was already sold, but I now have lots of thoughts popping into my head as to how I'm going
Yeah.
to attach myself to my children for the
Yeah.
rest of their lives.
For their lives forever.
I've already done it too, but it's
Yeah.
okay. We're going to do some more.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, we are going to wrap, but first, what I want to
Yeah.
do is do the smell test, which is just
Mhm.
really quick. I'm going to name a life situation and you name the oil. And you can each name an oil. If it's the same samesies, great. Okay. Can't wake up on Monday morning.
Peppermint.
Peppermint.
I love peppermint, so like this is like my whole FOMO, like, yes,
My
yay
like
for
oil
peppermint.
street name is like peppermint pusher. Like I'm like peppermint, peppermint.
Be a name from Mean Girls in that way. It's like
And like
push a peppermint pusher.
if peppermint's way too intense for you, like a spearmint, or like
Spearmint's nice.
we have
Yeah.
something called supermint, which is a blend of a whole
Hmm.
bunch of different mints, so it's like kind of softens it a little. It
Softens it
can be
down.
intense, but
Oh, I love mint. Like the more
I
the
love
better. Bring it on. It's my
it.
favorite. Okay. About to lose it on your kids.
Okay, I would say copaiba for that one. I would do a couple drops of copaiba under the tongue and just take a moment to breathe it in and like almost like I always feel like this like down regulation happening and just taking that
Mm.
moment and redirect as fast as you can.
That's a
What
good
about you? Yeah.
neither one of us have kids, but
Yeah.
we get the
We
idea.
get the
You
gist.
know?
Yeah. I have wild nephews.
Just transparently.
We all
But
have the friend, the
Yeah.
coworker, the
Yeah,
like checkout
exactly.
line experience,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would say frankincense. Yeah, that
Hmm.
would be my go-to. It's kind of just like that when it's like that overwhelm kind of, state of emotion, like
Yeah.
that's the go-to for me. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Um, Need to feel like you're at a beach, but you're actually in traffic.
Mm.
I would use the blend that I just described earlier, the peppermint, wild orange, and lavender.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
necessarily like a beach, but it's so fresh smelling.
Yeah.
And so it always smells like light and fresh and refreshing. So that's what I would do.
I'm indecisive. I love because you mentioned the Supermint blend. I love that because spearmint always kind of takes me there. But I also love Citrus Bliss. That blend is really like a vibey for me. It feels like pina colada-y, like that kind
Yes.
of thing. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Trying to focus and not scroll Instagram.
Mm. Well, go-to for my focus is In Tune, which is the focus blend. Um, but that would make me want to focus on Instagram if that's what's in front of me, is what I'm trying to say. Um, and not, I mean,
That's a
yeah,
really good one. I
that's
love how you're like weaving in some not top 10 ones here and it's
yeah.
like
Oh, sorry, should I not?
no,
Okay.
I think it's great. I think it's great. But like I truly do literally just go back so often to like those. But I would do
Hmm.
peppermint
Hmm.
um and wild orange together.
Hmm.
Really nice blend. That's like a homework blend, for
Yeah.
example.
Okay.
You could add like a drop of rosemary, great for memory kind of retention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
You're getting a headache. I think we talked about this one already.
Yeah.
Peppermint.
Yeah, peppermint.
Peppermint's great. And there's
Like
also a
I now
blend.
can answer these.
Yeah, you can. There's also a great blend called Past Tense, which is really, really lovely as well. Yeah, so if you're exploring outside of that top 10, Past Tense is really great.
And if it's like that thing that is the really, 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 really intense version of a headache,
Yeah.
that thing, the blend, we have a blend called Deep Blue, which is amazing for so many
Mhm.
things, but that's like a big go-to and actually frankincense too.
Hmm.
So it's not just
Nice.
like your regular run-of-the-mill headache.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like debilitating headache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And ate too much at dinner.
Digestion.
Digestion.
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
ginger alone is like fascinating as well. Sometimes like, I'm always like a combo synergistic, da da da. But when we started working with ginger in our co-practice for the whole month, it was just like sometimes one oil, not even the blend, can just be so supportive. So
Uh-huh.
I was starting to use ginger just for that instead of digestive blend, and it was just so good, so warming and soothing, and
I love
just
that
yummy
one.
on its own. Yeah.
I love that one for like cramps, like menstrual cramps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but you could
Mm.
also just do a peppermint. Like if you just had a one oil, like notice how many times we said peppermint, by the way. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I
really, there are some oils that
know.
are just like so versatile,
Hmm.
they
Yeah.
just become your tried and true.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, but that's really helpful, right? Because like Peppermint clearly has a good PR team and they are
Yeah.
really diversified in their experience that they can come up
Yeah.
all the time. But that's so
Yeah.
helpful when you're starting like, okay, everybody go get a bottle of doTERRA peppermint
Hmm.
just to have because look, you kind of can't go wrong with it. It's going to be super supportive unless you're like need to ground yourself. And
Yeah.
so it just feels like an amazing
Yeah.
place to start and so
Yeah.
accessible.
I
Yeah.
mean, if
Hmm.
you want to open your airways, if you have an upset stomach, if you have a hangover, if you have a headache, if like it's
Focus.
got so many things. So yeah, it's one of those Swiss Army type knife types. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Okay, amazing, ladies. This was so
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you for spending this time with me and digging into like the beginning stages. I really love this. I feel like we got a really amazing place for people to start and access this. And obviously, you do so much more than that. So we will drop all of your links and places to find you in the episode so that if people are diving into this world, they can find you because you are amazing guides. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. And would it be okay for Meg to just share like a tiny bit about co-practice for people?
Yeah, of
I could
course.
share it too, but Meg is really like the
Yes.
What?
she's really our leader of the co-practice. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
absolutely. Please do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Carrie, for having us in the Human Ray, for just existing and building this holistic practitioner hub of holistically minded humans. We are so grateful and excited for everything to come. Um, our co-practice is a community healing, experiential healing session where we actually break down and work with one essential oil of the month. So our oil of the month, our Om, and we kind of start to utilize it and embody it in our own therapeutic and spiritual mindfulness practices. So we each week we do a different healing practice. So the first week is always going to be the science and the spirit of that essential oil. The next week is usually a journaling and energetic anchoring. So we're pulling out those emotional and energetic components of the oil and reflecting in community. Digesting and sharing whatever comes up in those experiences as we anoint that oil and integrate their emotional qualities. And then we usually have an aromatic or somatic breath and movement practice, and a meditation in that, as well as then community integration so that we get around the table and we kind of explore what we've learned, how we've utilized the oils, what we're taking with us into the future with that oil. So it's a really beautiful opportunity if you do feel overwhelmed, is just to get one oil and start to embody that in your home, your health, your healing modalities and practices, from a very simple and gentle. And also, you're not alone. It's in a community, and it's a really beautiful community that, we're all teachers, we're all healers, and we're all learning from each other in this healing and holistic path. So it's such a blessing to have each other in the process.
I
So we'd
love
love
that.
to have you. It's 12 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays virtually.
Amazing. I love that. And I think that that's such an amazing way to take people into this and really understand in depth but accessible, and how to personalize it for yourself. Like
Yeah.
that's such an amazing, I love that. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Of
much for sharing the
course.
details because
Yeah.
that's a great next step for everybody who's listening
Mm-hmm.
to take the leap and try
Yeah.
something. You're just doing one at a time. Get in
Yeah.
it.
And even if you don't have that oil that we're working with, like feel free to bring whatever you're working with. You'll still be able to understand and learn the qualities of that oil through just all of us. Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
Thank you so much
Amazing.
for having us,
Thank you,
Carrie.
Carrie. Thank you,
Thank you so
Katie.
much. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for tuning into the Great Connect. So grateful to
Thank
have you here. We hope that this gave you the first step in your essential oils journey, not to overwhelm. So many good things. Remember, just get the peppermint. That's where we're starting. All right,
Thank
we'll see you
you.
next
Thank
time.
you.
Have a good day.
Bye.